Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. Only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
Links down below, and you guys can go back and watch it, get more context. And again, it's important we understand what's going on, because a very big deal going on right now, huge deal. Our country is under attack spiritually, psychologically, physically, in ways that you're not used to. See, in the old days, world wars were bombshells and mortar shells and all that stuff falling on you, right? And explosions and whatever. But that's a last resort. The way you usually lead up into a war is you got to start attacking a country economically and start infiltrating its food sources and start infiltrating its economic powerhouse, right? Once you understand that, you begin to see a picture form and you understand what's going on. And you and I, we're fighting each other. We're disagreeing with each other, but we're not seeing the one who's shaking the jar, who's poisoning our water, poisoning our foods, buying up our lands, slowly eroding and taking away our laws and our policies and replacing them with draconian policies, and slowly chipping away at our Constitution. Freedom is something that must be fought for in every generation through education. This is where you and I come in, right? We got to take this serious, man. Take it serious. It's no joke. We're in the midst of a culture war. Now, they're going to talk about a little segment here about some issues going on in the school. I'm going to play it, and we'll just get right in it, and we'll talk about it after before I wrap up this episode. Here we go. Timcast IRL.
Mermaid cartoon came out.
Okay.
So it's actually been, it's been like 33 years.
Well, yeah, you're right. We're in the
33
acceleration phase of this, where it'll probably be 2 years. And I know Ryan here is talking about education, but Ryan, what do you think that we went wrong? Where in schools now they have these transition closets where these teachers, you see libs of TikTok. Like, why do you think they're so motivated to indoctrinate kids? It's almost like they're coordinated. Or
Ideological
100% is coordinated.
subversion.
And that's where you look at this, and I'll give you an example of what happened in Oklahoma. We had a teacher who was giving kids access to pornography in the classroom.
That didn't make sense. Like, what?
So I go out and go, okay, she said she broke the law. She said that she's going to keep breaking the law. Then she's shown pornography to kids. We need to take her teaching certificate. That's literally what the law said. Yeah, okay, right? Yeah. Well, then the media starts in this narrative that I'm after all the teachers. I'm like, I'm not after all the teachers. I'm after one teacher's teaching certificate because she was giving access to pornography. And they go, well, that's censorship. I go, no, what is appropriate for kids in school is not censorship, right?
Well, real quick,
yeah.
Was she a government employee?
Yes.
It's not. You can call it censorship, sure, but it's not a violation of 1A or First Amendment rights when the government tells the government it can't do something.
That's exactly right. But again, so then, I'll take it a step further. Then the media in Oklahoma run this list of, quote, banned books in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It came from an international group that said, hey, we've looked at Oklahoma's law, so we think these books are banned there. And they run it for a week, and I'm going out there every day going, we don't have any banned books. We just have you cannot give pornography to a minor law that's like been around like every state for 30 years. Yeah. I mean, but the media has run with this narrative and tried to paint it as, well, hey, if you're going to question her, you're going after all teachers. That's not true. And number two, you're trying to ban. But I mean, they've gone, hey, he's going to ban Huckleberry Finn.
And why do they always ban Huck Finn? Because that's the N-word, I guess. Yeah, that's why. But I mean, just that book was required reading, and I see 1984 in Brave New World, they're getting banned. Why? Because of predictive programming. Why? Why do you think those are getting banned?
Well, and again, I don't. They set this up.
They're not fiction anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Let's the cat out of the bag, I guess. But it's not Republicans, it's not conservatives, it's not libertarians pushing banning of books. There's a difference between having conversations about. I mean, again, and I had a reporter say, "Hey, but kids can get porn on their phone." I go, "Hold on." So the argument is, it's out there, so we should have it in the school library for second graders?
Yeah.
That's outrageous. And to your point, the left is intentionally trying to indoctrinate kids, push them away from their parents, because guess what? You go home and tell your parents about it, they go, wait, what's going on? So the kid further withdraws from their parents. They want there to be no, hey, male, female, those don't matter. There's really no gender or there's no sex. It's fluid. And it becomes this confusing. We're going to have the most confused generation in the history of the United States.
There was a story about a woman I was reading. I think it was a social media post. And she said that her daughter was in school and the school had been transitioning her daughter without her knowing. Her daughter was growing increasingly depressed.
Gosh.
And what had happened, what it seems like from the story, I mean, maybe it's not true, it's an anecdote, is that the girl was becoming depressed because the school was telling her and encouraging her and pushing her, and everyone around her is goading her and saying, yes, yes. And then she eventually told her mom she didn't want to go to school anymore because it was giving her anxiety.
Yep.
And then as soon as she stopped going to school, she stopped all the pronoun stuff. She stopped the transition stuff because apparently the story is she never wanted to, but she was being pressured to. That's kind of creepy and scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's become, you have activists that are pushing it. And I mean, again, these are kids. I mean, this is part of, my background is as a teacher. You have to take responsibility very seriously as a teacher to go, these are young, impressionable kids. I'm not going to.
He's right. Okay? They're right. I've been seeing a lot of my friends and family posting stuff about Republicans are banning books, and he just laid it out. It's not that Republicans are doing anything. There's this international group, which, by the way, we can all kind of guess which international groups are involved with meddling in America's stuff. The three-letter word, WEF, and, those people over there. SORROS. These people are infiltrating and meddling in the American ideal and subverting it from the inside out. Like he said, we're going to have the most confused generation in the history of America. We have destroyed our country, literally. And thank God there's a few of us out there who are still sane and sober and observing and seeing what's going on. Millions of us. So don't give up hope. We're not just going to sit down idly by while this thing just infects our country and destroys our families and each other. Okay, so we need to be vigilant. We need to be educating our young ones in the circles around us, guiding them the right way, preparing them for what's coming. Because what's ramping up right now around the world and in the United States is something that's brewing and bubbling at the surface that, God forbid, I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. We all hope we're wrong, even those guys. So there you have it, folks. The entire story that's rolling around right now, coming from the Democratic side, from the left, and from the mainstream media, that somehow Republicans are banning books and banning all these things. No. The Republicans are trying to protect your children, make sure that they're not being indoctrinated and sexually groomed at a young age when they should be playing on a playground and learning about the ABCs and dinosaurs or whatever it is kids learn about or have fun with. So you tell me, look me in the eye and tell me that you think with all your heart of hearts that the Democrats or the left or whatever this group calls themselves now are righteous and virtuous in what they're doing. I don't see how. I can't see it. I've tried. Seems to me the Republicans or the group that calls themselves the right, or I think that's the label they've been given by the mainstream media, but it's really actually libertarian type people who believe in the founding principles of this country and try to promote that in their communities, with their families and their children. Right? They're the ones coming back and saying, something's not right, folks. Our country is under attack, spiritually, psychologically, physically, allively. So we gotta come together, folks. We got to realize that we are all fighting the same thing. There's two people on our soil. There are two ideologies on the American soil right now. And believe me, I'm a very left-leaning guy myself. I like the idea of helping the less fortunate and giving them a hand so that they can step up and move up society. No one would dispute that. Any loving, empathetic human being would agree with that. Even the so-called Republican people you demonize so much and call MAGA extremist. I'm telling you, man, we're all good people in the end. We're just being misguided and manipulated for an agenda that is not going in a nice way. And our children are paying the price. They really are. So all you parents out there, it's time to buck up and pay attention to what your kids are learning in school. And let's go back to the fundamental roots and values that made this country great at one time, before we lose it, because we're about to. God bless, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And I'll post a link to the full episode you could go watch. Peace. They also get into censorship, by the way.
Soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system.